Hello everyone, welcome to Quick Eyes. So today we are in Southex and finally we are at Delhi's most renowned eyewear boutique, Gem Optician, known for its beautiful range of exclusive eyewear. Gem Optician was started in late 60s by Shri Kataria.
Gem Opticians. Thank you, sir. Please.
His son Rajiv Kataria and grandson Ishaan and Trivin have taken it to the next level. Let's hear more about Gem Optician and its legacy and also about gemoptician.com.
Trivin and I are actually third generation in this business, like you correctly mentioned. Granddad started Gem Opticians, the brand, in 1969 in Southex. But a lesser known fact is that he actually started alongside his brother. In fact, he started earlier. His younger brother joined him later in 1956. Brand called Kataria Optical Company in Chandni Chowk. Right. So at that time, the Chandni Chowk was the South Delhi of Delhi. And so I think approximately 13 years later, in 69, his brother and him, they decided to run their respective shops. So he left everything there, left his client base, left everything, and came to South Extension, which was essentially a jungle back then, extremely undeveloped. I think we were the 4th, 5th or 6th shop back then, right? Even in this building, we were the first shop. So 1969 is when it all started, when the brand Gem Optician started. But you can trace our family's roots in this industry back to 56. Right, so that's almost 68
Yes.
years.
So I think he's the one who put us on the map, really. He used to do a lot of advertisements, so we still have clippings from all the newspapers where he's advertised the store ad together with other stores that were present in the market. So I think he already laid somewhat of a foundation for our dad to then take over.
So during that time also branded stuff used to sell here, or how was the scenario during that time? If you have.
So we do have a few stories. I think there's not enough time to share all the stories, but just a quick background is that he was also a very forward-looking person, like very, very forward-looking in terms of even back then, if not the first, one of the first persons to start RX sunglasses back then. Start CR39 lenses in the market. He was the first person who got the automatic edging machine to our clientele. So I'm not going to say he was the first, because I have no way of checking that today. But yes, definitely one of the very, very few people, because it was extremely rare back then, all of these things. So in fact, when Dad joined the business in 87, so 84 is when he went to the UK to study. Something which was completely unheard of. Not just Rajiv ji, absolutely. So not just in our industry, but also back then, going to London to study for 3 years for your education was so super rare. And I think within the industry, he was, if not the only one of the rarest exceptions to have done his professional qualifications from London.
So he did optometry from there.
Yes, so he did his optometry from that. Correct, absolutely. So it was him and his experience and his exposure to the British market that really brought in that fashion aspect to our store. We were, in fact, Dad, when he started studying there, like in 84, I think, and Dad has always been, less studious and always more focused towards the business. 84, when he started studying there, he started sending back a lot of these branded eyewear back to Delhi. Brands like Dior, Yves Saint Laurent, Ray-Ban.
This is about 84.
This is 84, right? When Ray-Ban didn't exist in India back then. So he was the person who actually started, under his guidance, this our traditional optical setup started turning into a fashion forward store. Right?
I think, apart from bringing that fashion element to our business, he was also someone who was very organized. So he also got that professional aspect to our business. I think kudos goes to Dad for that, because he was very active socially, along with our mother. They used to attend a lot of national parties and national days, and all the diplomats and politicians used to come over to the store. We were very young back then, but whenever we used to come to the store, we remember the market being completely blocked, and people coming by appointment. I think they built that credibility and trust that the prescription and the lenses that they would dispense would be the right fit for the client. So I think that really laid the foundation for the both of us to really expand on.
So since you came on lenses also, so seeing the kind of clientele you have here. So normally, which kind of lenses do you recommend to your customers, and are the customers coming asking for anything specific, or they go as per the word what you say or your team says?
So, Sachin, I think we're very fortunate in having built up a very, very strong uh, bond and trust with our customer, where they look towards us to suggest what is the right thing uh, to purchase and what is the right thing to wear. Of course, the amount of marketing that brands like Essilor do really helps to get the word out there, and it doesn't hurt that the quality is fantastic. Um, Going in line with the product that we're selling, if we talk about progressives, we're essentially selling the Varilux portfolio or an equivalent in other brands like Zeiss or Nikon. Um, One thing that we really do focus on is personalized lenses, both in progressives and single vision lenses. So that's where technologies like the Visio Office comes in play, right? Which is an instrument by Essilor. Um, so doing a lot of personalized single vision lenses is what we feel is something different that we do, or and I mean, I have no way of fact checking this, but definitely something that we've been doing much more than we did in the past. And we've seen younger customers coming back to us and seeing that, okay, single vision and progressive personalized lenses are working for us. We also do a lot of lenses like Eisen lenses or Relaxi lenses by Nikon, which is essentially for the active audience of 28 to 35, 30, like pre-progressive, but these are essentially digital lenses. So a lot of these lenses as well.
And I think nowadays, to go back to the fashion element that we really focus on, people are also opting for cosmetic, like light tints, in their lenses. So it's something that people can wear indoors, outdoors. Go for a sundowner. So you must have
Do
seen.
you see that iska hai market? Because people have told me this thing that slowly market is growing for slightly tinted. But if you ask me personally, I don't see that much happening, or maybe I see to a different kind of audience on a daily basis. But आपके पास different kind of customers are coming.
Yes.
You see that people are asking for एक normal चश्मा बना दो और एक मुझे शाम के लिए चाहिए with a slight blue or a.
Definitely. No, so it started off as being lenses for driving,
Okay.
right? So that's how yellow lenses, yellow the color became popular for cosmetic tints. But then now I think there are other options as well. People can offer light tints and with transition lenses, which essentially turns dark when you're exposed to the sun. So I think the lenses, apart from correcting prescription, have also been functional in terms of protecting from light. So I think that's where tints and transition comes into play.
And I think an interesting tidbit of how these light tinted lenses came into play is they were, I think, Nikon and Essilor both were pioneers in these tints. It started off from the best of my knowledge in Japan, where a lot of women over a certain age were wanting to wear glasses to hide dark circles. So that is where that 5%, 7%, 10% tint came into play, and that's how it became very popular in the Far East. And so now, yes, of course, it adds, like you said, like Trivin mentioned, adds a huge fashion element to the glasses. I have customers calling me and saying that मेरे को glasses चाहिए light tinted के साथ, tint के साथ चाहिए, parties पे पहनने के लिए चाहिए. And so I think now it's fairly common, very acceptable. Some people are comfortable wearing them. Like I personally am not. Trivin is very comfortable wearing them. So it's also a very, very personal choice.
So we are talking about lenses and all, and I know, and even people say, even Essilor team also say that you guys really concentrate a lot on training of your employees and how they need to sell the product, how the story need to be told in both in terms of technicalities also and also in terms of brand perception.
Right.
So, how important is this part for Gem Optician in building up that name as a brand, and also in terms of your business, which is like most important?
Okay. So when we talk about lenses, the professional and the clinical aspect of it, we've been very fortunate enough to have our aunt Nisha with us, who's a gold medalist from AIMS, and she joined the business in 2000. And she really worked shoulder to shoulder with dad to take the professional aspect of our business to another level, right? So we've always excelled at that. What I think we've been able to do, Trivin and I have been able to do differently um, in the past few years is that we've really institutionalized trainings. How we look at trainings is in two aspects. We just don't look at product training, but we also look at operational training. Okay. So, like you mentioned, how does it help creating a brand? Now, what is a brand? To me, a brand is something that you trust and something that delivers quality. By virtue of being in a segment where we are not per se manufacturing anything and selling it, but trading product at the end of the day, whether it is a frame, a sunglass, or a lens. When you're dealing with the best products out there, quality is taken care of, right? So product quality is already taken care of. So now, what we were able to identify is that our business, if you put the professional aspect of our business aside, right, that is one important aspect.
Correct.
But a large aspect of our business, whether it's sunglasses and frames, is essentially a commoditized business.
Correct.
Right? It is something that I'm selling, and a lot of people out there in the market is selling.
Correct.
So, what is it that differentiates us and everyone out there? Again, I'm not going to make any bold claim, but I'm only going to say that we like to think that we do things a little bit differently than others. What helps us there is the way we are able to sell the product and give service with that product. Okay, so that's where our product trainings come in place. In addition to having our in-house proprietary training program that we've developed ourselves, right? We have tools such as Essilor's Leonardo, which is an excellent tool for anyone out there to really not just for products but also to how to sell a product, right? So we have weekly trainings around that. In terms of operational trainings, just back on the product training, just to give you an example, I just thought about this. Even when I mentioned weekly trainings, last week we started with a new brand called Jacquemus. As you know, we just returned back from Silmo. We picked up that brand. So now, if I was to introduce this product onto the shelf without giving the requisite product training and knowledge to my team,
Okay.
you can have a certain degree of surety that the pronunciation of the brand will not be correct.
Correct. I agree. 100%.
Right. So now the customer who is buying this product is aware about the brand. Right. The fashion forward customer. Now, if the person who is selling the product is not confident about what he's selling, right, you come across as not being an expert.
Right.
And today's customer is so knowledgeable, is so fashion forward and so aware that when he walks into a store like ours, he expects the person dealing with him to have that 1% extra knowledge about the product. Right. So we did a training for the brand last Saturday, and only after the training we put the product on the shelf. Right. So that's the extent to which we go to with product trainings. In terms of operational trainings, like I said, this is something I think which we do differently. That even and service training is a part of that operational training as well. On even small things on how you're supposed to pack a product and deliver to the customer. When you fold the selvet that goes along, where does your brand appear? Is it on the bottom right corner, on the left corner? When you're packing the product, right? How, when you're closing a box, does the brand name and the box inside, they should be in the same line? Should they not be upside down? So all of these things are a part of product training, operational trainings. Coming back to talking about how this helps in creating a brand, when I said a brand is nothing but trust and quality, quality gets taken care of.
Right.
Trust comes through consistency of experience. We want any customer interacting with us online or walking into any gem store getting the same degree of experience. I think a little differently. It is not exceptional service that sets you apart. It is consistency of experience that sets you apart. Because we as human beings always search for something which is familiar to us. We don't want to be walking into a store and be treated in 10 different fashions at 10 different points in time. I'm okay with not having an exceptional experience as long as I'm afforded the same experience every single time. Right? So I think, that's to answer your question on service.
I didn't know that how you need to fold a selvet. That is also important.
Absolutely. So this is where
I think I am for the first time, and it is quite relevant also है. मतलब अब
Absolutely.
मुझे लग रहा है कहाँ मेरा लोगो जा रहा है. केस खुलेगा तो मुझे लोगो कहाँ है मेरा. That is something which should be visible before चश्मा बाहर है.
I mean, it really depends on how much importance you give to these things. Sometimes we really do think that we tend to overdo.
But Rajiv sir से आया होगा ये सब.
100% आया हुआ है. The only difference is that आया तो सब कुछ देखो, जैसे हम customers को भी बोलते हैं, लोगों को भी बोलते हैं, देखो, for the lack of a better word, retail is in our blood. Right. What we've been able to do is we've been able to leverage technology to really exponentially be able to achieve that operation excellence that we've been striving towards. Right. So the mentality of doing things in a certain way has always been there. Dad's always taught us. Mom is very particular. Nishaji is very particular, right? So that mentality of wanting to do things in a certain way is always there. But how do you translate that into the culture of the team? So technology has played a very, very big part there through processes and systems on the cloud. And of course, it goes without saying that our team, we are so fortunate to have people who understand that culture eats strategy for breakfast any day of the week. So it's the culture that gets you going. You could have the world's best strategy, doesn't matter. If you don't have the culture within the team, or the training within the team, or the mindset within the team to execute it, everything falls apart.
I believe you have three stores. So this is the oldest one, Southex, where we are sitting.
So a flagship, yeah. So this is a flagship store which we opened up about 55 years ago. So in '69, 2087, Dad had joined, so he had taken it over. 2000,
Sorry, just to put it there, Dad had joined physically in '87, but in spirit he has been here since 1963.
Right.
Ever since he's been born, I think he's been born and brought up at the store.
Yeah. And 2000 is when our aunt Nishaji joined. 2010 is our mother was proactive in the business, apart from the marketing aspect that she was already looking at. And this is when we opened up a second store in Vasant Kunj, in Anvin's Mall. From there, I think once Ishaan Bhaiya had joined, 2022 is the third store that we opened up, which is in City Walk in Saket. Yeah, so we've got three stores.
Now coming back to मैं किस लिए आया हूँ. So everyone is talking about online space, and
Right.
I want to specifically talk about in bold letters and inverted comma gemopticians.com. So how that started? So from where that started, whose brain is it who is completely handling it? And I'm sure there would be some kind of a third party who is also helping you around. So उनका कितना contribution रहता है, आपका कितना contribution रहता है, and how do you choose brands कौन से मुझे वहाँ बेचने हैं? And when you started, like कितना time हो गया? And initially, I am sure it would be difficult, but now is it like in the flow happening, or still you are still finding out the nitty gritties of running a website? So if you can tell me in detail how the website runs and when it started.
I think those are a bunch of questions, but we'll try to answer them. Yeah. So I think so. We started. It was April 2020 during the first lockdown. When there was a cash crunch, we were sitting at home trying to think of novel ways of reaching out to our existing clients and monetize. So I think gift cards is the first thing that came to our minds, that we'll try and sell gift cards to our client and convert into some sort of sales. It was around the same time that a friend of mine had introduced me to the platform Shopify. So we did a little bit of research, and we were instantly on the same page that we wanted our catalog, our entire product catalog, to be there on our website. I think it was around the same time where we were having a lot of seminars as well, and industry leaders like Mr. Ram as well from Essilor used to mention Omni Channel presence. So we were quite certain that this is something that we want to eventually do, and we felt that trying to sell gift cards was a good stepping stone. Like, it'll give us an idea of how product gets uploaded. What is the kind of
sorry to interrupt. What is a gift card? Gift card is like a voucher, or
it's like a voucher essentially. Yes.
So at that point in time, because we didn't know when the stores were going to be open, we thought that maybe we reach out to our existing customers and tell them and offer them and a lot of people were doing this back then, that pay us X, we'll give you 1.2 X ka value once the store opens. So just to get some cash into.
They just work best.
No, so yeah, it didn't work at all. But it gave us a good experience about how the platform worked, and within 4 months, I think we were up and running.
Initially, a website पे सिर्फ gift cards बेचे.
Yeah. Yes. It didn't work.
Okay.
So, but then it was
But you got a hands-on experience की website कैसे काम कर रही है with Shopify platform and all.
Because we didn't know anything, right? We didn't know how the payment gateway is going to work.
Correct.
So to integrate the payment gateway onto the website, onto really see, Razorpay was brand new back for was absolutely new for us back then. So even small stuff as to how the accounting background is going to be set. So we thought, okay, this is a good way of us to learn how everything works. If it works, it works. Doesn't work. But in hindsight, what we both learned is that everything doesn't need to work. Whatever you put into your hand into doesn't need to work. It could just lead to something which is bigger and better.
Correct.
Right. So and now we try to imbibe that in everything that we do. कि चलेगा चलेगा नहीं चलेगा नहीं चलेगा.
Also for us, I think it was a very natural next step, because at that point we had underutilized resources in terms of the people that were working with us. We were sitting on heaps of inventory that naturally we wanted to sell, and of course we were leasing spaces that were not being used. So we thought that this is the next natural step. So within 4 months, I think we were live, and September of 2020 was the first real month of sales for us.
So you started doing the photo shoots for your products through some third party, or you guys only did it initially to start to?
So luckily, most of these brands, especially Luxottica,
Okay.
offers extremely high resolution product shots.
So you were able to
Yeah.
use those.
So Luxottica is a front runner. We must compliment them
Okay.
because they're giving us about 7, 8 angles
Yeah.
of the product.
Even the virtual try on that they've done.
Even the virtual try-on that they're doing, we're in talks with Luxottica to integrate it.
You can integrate that on your website.
Yeah. So that is in the works.
But what has worked has been lesser than what has not worked. But like everything in life, everything is 80-20, right? 80% will not work, but the 20% that works will give you exponential results. And this is just one of these things.
So yeah, to answer your question, it was definitely a collaborative effort. Both of us were looking at building the website, but our mom would help us with the colors. For instance, she's the one who would decide corporate colors and how a website should how we should present our brand, how we should speak about our history, about our grandfather. So if you go on our website, you'll still see that there's information about our grandfather.
Yeah, right.
There's information about our father. We're still not there in the picture because our focus is there is to it's because of them and the foundation that they've laid that we're doing this. Even the thank you card that we send to our clients is it's we've got both of our grandfather and our father's name on it. So this is something that we are extremely proud about, and it's just an extension of our business. And we feel this omni channel presence that we've now been able to build is something that has benefited Gem as a whole.
Okay. So now, which all brands normally people come and ask online, and majority customer is the new customer coming in, or the older customer, existing customer base जो Gem का है. Then on which all platform do you do kind of an advertisement to get traffic on your page? So if you can just share all these stuff, and specifically that consumer आके कौन सा brand मांगता है online पे या कौन से brand पे पहले जाता है, and then I'm sure website से customer store पे भी आता होगा, that would also be happening. So if you can share some kind of an approximate ratio or a number that कितने customers हैं ऐसे जो आएंगे.
You want to take this?
Yeah. So, in terms of marketing, I think we're focusing more on Google ads, Facebook, Instagram ads. That's something that I think most people who are trying to get into this, into e-commerce, would be focusing on. But I think both of us would agree that we strongly believe that word of mouth marketing is still as important for e-commerce as it is for
Offline.
offline. And yeah.
So, but like exactly what he's saying, like what I talked about, our service excellence and operational excellence, that translates into the product, right? On the delivering of the product, on the after sales of the product. And I think Instagram will just get you through the door, like will get the customer through the door. But whether that customer really converts, stays with you for a multiple purchase, recommends 10 of his friends, really depends on your quality and service. And that for us is our strongest source of marketing, and that is our biggest strength, because that is something which is extremely hard to replicate. Right? So, and that is something that we don't mind sharing, because we know how hard, how integral it is to our company's culture, that it is next to impossible to replicate. Anyone can do Instagram ads.
So that's a great way of discovery. In fact, Instagram for us started way before the website as well. It started off in 2017 for us.
Sure.
When mom was taking care of it. It was her ideas, her design, her creative mindset that got us that initial push and followers, organic followers, and I must add.
In fact, in 2017, when we started Instagram, it was a big debate within the family.
Yeah.
Because the cost that we were looking at to maintain the platform, to do our shoots, to churn out content.
Shoots तब से कर रहे हैं.
तब 2017 से कर रहे हैं. And it was a huge expense, and that expense was like we were not going to attribute that into lead generation, or we were not being able to, and we knew we will not be able to see instant conversions through that. So it was a huge debate in the family where I remember Trivin had recently joined the business, but I remember pushing for it so hard that this is something we have to do. And this is not something that we can do in-house. Of course, we are going to be involved in the strategy. It We know our brand better than anyone else does. We know what we want to portray for the brand. We don't want the content to be generic. We want every shoot to be well thought of, the a theme to be there, and we really want value to be added through Instagram to the customer out there. So we're going to be involved there, but it is not something that we can do ourselves because we're not professionals, right? So, but luckily, we were able to get through our parents. We were able to start with Instagram. We spent lakhs and lakhs over the next 3 years without any instant conversion or translation into sales. But that base of the followers of the brand in the market of us being present on social media was really really helpful when we launched the website, right? So if that base wouldn't have been there, it would have been incredibly difficult for us to get to this stage on Instagram for sure.
Correct. So normally website pe people come and ask for well-known brands or kind of an independent brands which are not much well-known. वो कैसा होता है? If you can give some idea on that.
So see, online works on keywords basically,
Okay.
and people are searching for the well-known brands, whether it's Luxottica brands like Burberry, Dolce, Prada, or a few brands like Kering. Gucci does very well as well. So that is how people land on your page. I think of course, metros are already uh, quite comfortable with those brands, and they're the ones who can venture into these independent brands more often. But India is huge, and people are getting comfortable with buying online. So these are the brands that they naturally lean towards first. But like he said, and we've got a lot of, and you as well mentioned that we've got a lot of clients that are coming into our store. So it's online where they discover us. It's when they walk into the store and we offer them the service that we do offline is when we actually solidify that relationship with them. So we've got clients who are in different cities now, buying from us regularly, trusting our judgment. There'll be clients calling me up, अच्छा तू बता दे कि क्या मेरे को suit करेगा, what colors I should get. You know my entire collection. We built collection for our clients over the phone. So yeah, I think fashion brands is where it starts, but there are people who are willing to experiment into independent eyewear brands as well.
Today, uh, fortunately, we are not just running an e-commerce website or just a retail store, right? It was easier back then when we were just doing Instagram, where a customer would walk in with a photo from Instagram and say, "Okay, this is what I want." I'm able to attribute. Today, I do not know if a customer is, and there have been instances where a customer has gone online, looked at the entire product, come offline to experience the product, went back online and finished the purchase. So there have been like instances like that. So it is really, really difficult for us to say ki whether this customer is an online customer or an offline customer. Customers who are offline customers are like or have been traditional customers at the store, have been browsing the website, looking at product, sending us screenshots saying which store is this available at, or can you make it available? I would like to come to try it. Now, I don't know whether I have to attribute that to an online sale or an offline sale, right? So it's extremely difficult. All we know is both aspects of our business are growing, and the fact that both are and, and to a very large extent both are growing because of the synergies between the two. Okay. Right. We strongly believe that if either one of them would be missing, we wouldn't be seeing the kind of growth we are seeing in our business. Touchwood, and yeah. So as long as we're being able to grow both aspects by a healthy number, we're happy. So we don't want to get into the discussion of what is what. We know both are growing, and we're happy with it.
So I was asking a question to him. You were not there at that time before we started.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know. So let's say if there is your friend,
Mhm.
he's not from the optical background, but he wants to start business. So you would recommend him to start an offline store or an online store?
So I think first of all, it depends what product they're trying to sell. If they are trying to get into the luxury segment,
Correct.
then I think uh, opening a store first is the right approach. Why I say this is because with online, the trust factor is extremely high. People want to see whether you're physically present somewhere, whether so e-commerce as an industry has a lot of scams, so people want to see whether you actually have a retail store, but whether you actually have that product. They want to look at pictures, they want to look at videos, and that gives them that assurance to then make that purchase. Additionally, with trust, I think reviews is incredibly important, which we managed to sort of get a 5-star rating across all three of our stores over the years, and that's incredibly helpful in making those conversions. I'll give you a small example. Like we shop online, so we both of us are into sneakers, and recently I bought a pair of sneakers for one of the online websites, which is quite well known. Their marketing is on point. Now, so I immediately bought from them. The parcel didn't come to me in 10 days. So after a month, after following up with them a couple of times, they told me that this is not in stock and we'll have to refund you. So that refund took another 15 days. So overall, my experience shopping online wasn't great with them. Now, during this process, I went on to Google, I searched for this company, and I looked at the stores that they had, and I looked at the reviews. Now, the reviews were already so descriptive about the existing experience that clients have had, that had I have already seen that before shopping online, I perhaps wouldn't have made that purchase in the first place. So this is where I think having those physical stores before opening an online website comes into play. And I think with luxury and the brands that we deal in, independent eyewear brands and these expensive products, it's very personalized. So I think people would want to come into your store, get your suggestions, try those pieces on, which wouldn't have been possible with an online brand.
Right.
Now, this is not to say that no one can do it. I think established brands who already have, a certain backing, who are already there, for example, a Tata, right? There's someone who will still manage to do it because they're huge and they've already been in this industry in other products, if not eyewear to begin with. So it just depends on where you're starting off, what your risk appetite is in terms of the finances that you have, and yeah, I think that's more or less it. For stores would be first, and then you expand into an omni channel presence.
Absolutely. But one thing that just to add, just to give you like an opposite view, um, starting a retail store will be a capital intensive exercise. Um, also depends on the scale of the store you want to do, the kind of store you want to do, the locality you want to do in. So obviously that is going to be a factor. Um, what I'm trying to offer you is a different perspective to what he said. While I agree with him that to sell a luxury product, you will be better starting off as a store, right? But you have to bear in mind that it is an operationally challenging exercise. Now we look at it from the perspective of our stores, where we are extremely particular about every single thing, right? Like, and every single aspect of our business. There might be someone who would not want to be that particular, so might be easier running a store operationally, but it's not without its challenges. um, Managing being physically present 24/7 for your customer is a challenge, whereas on e-commerce that is not a requirement. So someone who wants to do a business remotely, right, or someone who wants to build a next gen business uh, where the team wants to work from home, wants 3 days in office, 2 days not in office, and that from that angle, running an e-commerce business would be easier. But then like the answer, there's no right answer, right? It really depends on the kind of product. Now, to say that is selling a 2,000 rupee product easier online, the answer might be no, because you're going to be competing with Lenskart, right? Which is in itself is doing a fantastic job. So there's no really right answer. But I would say if you have enough capital, if you have the right space, if you have right approach to building a sustainable brand, a store would be the way to go. But as soon as that is set up, having an omni-channel presence is extremely critical. Okay. And in fact, I'd go so far to say that even people in our industry who today are not running e-commerce platforms, or are not, or are thinking whether they should take the jump or take the plunge or not, my answer is do it. 100% do it. If you already have an established retail presence, rather than, I know starting a retail store for someone like out there would be easier to do. I would say rather than doing that, invest onto e-commerce. It is only going to help your brand. Not without its challenges, going to be extremely difficult. It took us 4 years to reach where we are today, right? Even after having and I would like to think we're extremely tech forward, right? Even having all of that knowledge, it took us 4 years to get here. So it's not without its challenging, but it's definitely rewarding.
Thanks for being very clear that
one should do it or not.
Yeah.
Thanks for
You're welcome.
So I see you're wearing a really interesting frame, and this is not a branded
Yeah.
kind of more of an independent brand,
Yeah.
I believe. And I saw him with Rajiv ji and ma'am also
Yeah.
in Silmo, and it was my first Silmo. So I saw a lot of new brands which I've never heard. I can't even spell it also. So I think there were about more than 150 brands जो देखने में अच्छी लग रही थी, and मुझे पसंद आई, मतलब मुझे था कि that I should take it. So how do you decide that which brand you want to keep in your store, which brands you don't want to keep, and maybe आपने कुछ brands independent रखी होंगी which are not working now. So how did you phase them out and get a new one? So how that whole thing worked? Because I was really confused कि कौन सा अच्छा है, कौन सा अच्छा, मतलब I'm sure अच्छे सब है, पर कौन सा बिकेगा और कौन सा नहीं बिकेगा. That's more important.
So if you want to take this.
Yeah, so I think let's start from the last statement that
So
you made.
first, which brand you are
So I am wearing Jean-Philippe Joly.
This is this guy is like he. I met him like he's so now he's a friend,
Okay.
and I just like to say that this guy, his passion for eyewear, his passion for life really translates into the eyewear. Like there are such minimal details inside the frame that you can't see from outside that is thought of to such an extent. And you know, when a person is confident of selling the product to you, that passion comes out while selling the product to the customer. Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
even the
wonderful.
model names, for instance, are so interesting. Like one says "Enjoy Life."
Yeah, and
Right.
one says enjoy life, and then on the left temple ke end mein, there is a smiley face there. One
Which you
says,
don't see a lot of
which you
brands.
don't see. I mean, the kind of like the thinking that goes behind creating the product is just phenomenal.
So, which all brands, if you can just tell, which all brands you sell, especially independent ones, and normally customer का approach क्या रहता है when they see an independent brand? Because I feel 20-30% people must have heard about it. Remaining 70% would be dependent on you. If you tell them, हाँ ये बहुत अच्छा है, it sells a lot in Paris, US, and all, they will buy it. So, if you can tell about that journey, and from Silmo, coming back from Silmo also, how do you choose which brand you want to keep in your store?
ठीक.
So I think selection of brands really depends on. So our ordering right now is done in a very structured manner where we are selecting brands for different stores differently,
Okay.
because we feel that what a brand that might work at one store might not work at the other. Also for e-commerce, I've already mentioned the kind of brands. It's the fashion brands that are doing really well. So we try to keep a focus on different stores and the brands that would work there. So in terms of, I think no one can confidently say what will sell, what will not sell. It's for the market to decide. It's for our clients to decide. But what we do have a good understanding is of what style shapes are already well accepted by the Indian market. So I think that's where our decision comes from. We identify the kind of brands that we feel have some level of potential, and then we kind of identify which store will it work well at, and that is how we make our decision. And when we're thinking about independent brands, for instance, in Silbo, then we already have a set of customers in mind. Right, we know that there are certain families or certain customers that have a certain taste, and you make that decision then.
So just to add to what he already mentioned, I think the starting point of product selection, irrespective whether it's an independent brand or it's a brand by Luxottica or Kering or one of the well-known brands out there, is data.
Okay.
You've really got to analyze what is the kind of product that you as a company are selling. You might want to do it store wise, you might want to do it region wise. Completely depends on you. But I think you have to take data as a base to really make a decision of whether a product is the right market fit or not. So, yes, of course, like Trivin mentioned, no one can really confidently tell whether a certain product will end up selling or not. But what you got to be very conscious about is understanding, like when you, like for example, when you went to Silmo, you said there were so many things that I liked, but I didn't know what will work and what won't work, right? So it's the same with us. Even we today, after having such an extensive experience in the industry, cannot say confidently whether something will work or not. Uh, there are brands that we've taken on this time which 3 years back we were not confident about because the customer taste had not evolved that much. Today we know, okay, that the customer tastes are evolving, and that is the kind of product which customers in India today are asking for, which back in 2018 or 2016 were doing well in Europe. But even for that, we have to understand, like Trivin said, that when we have certain customers in mind, okay, just to give you a hypothetical example, uh, you think that you have 100 customers that will end up buying independent eyewear. Now, those 100 customers, you've got to break up into buckets. In independent eyewear, there is an eyewear which is in the 40 to 50,000 price point, could be lightweight, could be eyewear in the 30 to 50,000 price point, which is acetate with a lot of colors. Could be an eyewear in a 1.5 lakh price point, which is maybe wood or horn and XYZ. So that 100 customers, you got to first break up into those buckets to say, okay, what is the right? What is so you know that these customers are going to buy independent eyewear. Within that independent eyewear, how much is going to buy colorful acetate? How much is going to buy horn? How much is going to buy wood? XYZ. Just broad buckets. Your estimation might be wrong. Your estimation might go 10% here or then, 15% here or then, but you still have a starting point. Post that, when you're picking up a new brand, if one bucket is already filled, you already know, okay, I have something for colorful acetate already. You might end up liking 2 or 3 other brands, but you got to have the willpower and the emotional stability to say no to it. Because ultimately, if it's there are only certain number of customers for that certain kind of product. Having more does not mean that you're going to sell more. You can take a 10% risk, you can take a 15% risk, you can't take a 200% risk. Right? So that's how we think about it.
Can you share some of the new brands which you plan to keep in your store?
So of course, one is Jean-Philippe Joly that we recently started.
Is it based out of the US?
No, so Jean-Philippe Joly is French. Yeah. It's a French brand. We have been doing well with Matsuda, which is a very old Japanese brand. And this was one of the brands that I had in mind when I spoke about how something back in 2015, 2016 wouldn't work in India. But today, a customer tastes have evolved enough for us to be able to confidently say, okay, I'm going to stock these many number of pieces for this brand, right? So Matsuda is one of them. We're doing another brand called Tabat. Okay, that's an American brand made in Italy.
Soya is another.
Soya is another brand.
SOY.
SOY. Soya is another Italian brand that we're doing. Of course, we have another brand, American brand called T. Henry, which is, in fact, we met you outside the T. Henry booth in Silmo. That's a fantastic product. Again, handmade in Japan. But that being said, I'd just like to put a word of caution out there. While it's amazing to have independent brands, have different stuff, and keep on introducing new things to the market, you've really got to look at the data and be very conscious about the fact that while it might be enamoring, while it might draw a lot of audience to you, ultimately you have to see what's selling, and you don't have to be carried along with the wave. Because if you don't look at your inventory turns, and if you don't look what is selling, what your customer is actually demanding, it's a slippery slope. So just a word of conscience. Do independent brands, but actually bear in mind how much is selling.
Now, I guess clients of ours have now a certain expectation from us. They want us to introduce these brands every year. They want to see what's new. And that's why we have such a high repeat clientele as well. Because they trust that, the latest in eyewear will be brought in India by Gem Opticians.
Is it also, since I was talking to you, so I just came to mind, is it also like people have worn the fashion brands and they have money to spend, now they want to move into all these kind of independent brands? ऐसा भी होता है क्या?
Generally, यही trajectory होती है.
Right.
That's what happens.
But the first chashma won't be a brand जो नाम नहीं सुना होगा, but first chashma will be of like Prada, D&G and Burberry and all. And the next one.
That would generally be the case. Yeah.
So glasses are like watches, no?
Okay.
You start off small. Okay. You start off with an entry-level watch. Then once you appreciate the watch, you appreciate the art behind it, that's when you move up the ladder. So even in eyewear, I guess this is art at the end of the day. Okay. And the ones that can appreciate it will want to wear this and nothing else, or similar brands.
It's also wanting to be different, and it also really depends on the part of the country you are in. North India is notorious for, being very fashion forward and doing things which a lot of people in the other parts of the country, where they want to stay a little simpler, not. So easier for us to sell this kind of product in the northern part of the country than as opposed to the south, I'm guessing. I don't have any real data or knowledge, but generally from the general feedback, easier for us to sell this in the north of India.
For sure, I agree.
Really, so thanks for your time. It was really interesting.
Yes, hopefully.
Great. So
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sachin. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. Pleasure.